Hey guys, my name's Caryn Stone and I'm an interpreter here in Arizona. I work for Mesa Public Schools as well as Arizona Schools for the Deaf and Blind, both in Tucson and Phoenix. I just wanted to go over some of the exams that are available to you guys upon graduation from the IPP. It was very confusing for me. I know I graduated in 2014 and I wish I had someone to guide me kind of through these exams, especially since there's a new one that just popped up. So I'm going to go over 3 exams today that you guys can take when you graduate the program. And each one is a little bit different, so I'll go over how they're each a little bit different from each other. So the first exam that I'm going to go over is called the EIPA, or the Educational Interpreter Performance Assessment. This assessment is going to analyze your ability and skills to interpret in a K through 12 setting, which, as you guys will learn, is quite different than working with adults in another type of setting. The scale that they use on this exam is a 0 through 5 scale, and what that means is each state in our country they kind of have their own judgment or own decision making of what score they want interpreters to have. So here in Arizona, they require a 3.5 or higher. I think in New Mexico, they require a 4.0 or higher to work in their K through 12 system. So it varies by each state. But like I said, Arizona's requirement is a 3.5. So your score can go, as like I said, from a 0 to 5. You need a 3.5 or higher to work here in Arizona. What's really, really great about the EIPA is the feedback that you receive after. It is extensive, and it's so beneficial to you as a new graduate becoming a new interpreter, because it gives you those areas of your strengths and your weaknesses, and they're very specific with those areas so that you can really hone in on what you need to work on. So that's what I really enjoyed about that test, was the feedback. I still go back and look at it to this day after 5 years of, it's been 5 years since I took it, and I still go back and look and compare my skills and what they were back then to what they are now. So it's still benefiting me. But like I said, that is the certification required to work in a K through 12 setting here in Arizona. The next exam that you guys might have heard about is the NIC, or the National Interpreter Certification. This exam, if you pass, will allow you to work in any state across the nation. That's why it's the National Interpreter Certification exam. This exam has 2 parts. So the first part is going to be a written exam. It's called the knowledge portion. And they're not kidding. They are going to test your knowledge of interpreting history, RID's history, or the Registry of Interpreters of the Deaf, their history as an agency. It will test your knowledge of different laws that pertain to deaf individuals, whether that be in a K through 12 setting or not. It also goes over the interpreting theory and practice, models of interpreting that we've used and which model we use now, plus different deaf agencies that are very important within the deaf community. And so for that knowledge portion, it's taken on a computer. It's multiple choice, and you would need to receive a score of 500 or above to pass, the top score being 800. If you do pass the knowledge portion of that exam, you can take the performance part of the NIC exam. That is the actual interpreting part. You will go in, you will have a video camera set up. They will play, either a TV or a computer will play a few scenarios out for you, and you go ahead and interpret those scenarios. You do have a few minutes before each scenario to kind of prep, and they'll give you a little gist of what the situation or the scene will be about, but not very much. So it is what we call very cold interpretation, that you're not given very much knowledge of prior to the test, which makes it pretty difficult. It was a very difficult exam, but like I said, if you pass it, you're saying that you're good enough to work in any state. So I wouldn't suggest this right after the program. I would suggest the knowledge portion of the NIC right after the program, because all of that you just learned in the IPP. So that knowledge is fresh. So that's what I did. I graduated and took that NIC knowledge portion right away. With passing just the knowledge portion of the NIC, you can get what's called a provisional C license here in Arizona, and that will allow you to work with licensed teams kind of as a mentor situation. So that's kind of cool. That's one of the bonuses of if you do decide to take the knowledge portion of the NIC. Also, I want to let you know that if you take the knowledge portion and pass, you have 5 years, a 5-year time limit to take that NIC performance part, the interpreting part. So that's not something else to think about. I believe both the NIC knowledge and the NIC performance require that score of a 500 or above to pass. Okay, and that brings us to, I'm sorry, before I move on, the NIC did not have very much feedback. After you take the performance exam, you wait and you're given a letter, but it doesn't include that feedback that the EIPA has. It basically gives you an overview of kind of what you were lacking, what skill you might have been lacking, so it's not as specific in the feedback. Okay, so that brings us to the third exam that's available now in Arizona. It is called the BEI. It stands for Board of Evaluators of Interpreters. I want you guys to understand that this test is being given only in Texas as of right now. And so that would be something that you need to plan for if you're going to take this exam, is to go to Texas to take it. What's cool about it, there are 2 parts to the BEI as well. The first part is what's called the Test of English Proficiency, or the TEP, and I compare it a lot to an ACT exam or an SAT English exam. They are solely checking your English skills, grammar, vocab, synonyms, antonyms, and reading comprehension. And upon passing that portion, which is a written exam, then you can take their performance portion. That's the second part of the BEI, where you're given those scenarios and you interpret in those scenarios. The feedback that I received from the BEI was minimal because it's in the way that they grade that exam. What they do is they give you an allotted number of errors that you can make, and you need to make that at minimal that many errors or less. So total possible errors that you can make in the BEI performance exam is 44. So you need to make 44 or less errors out of 170 possible errors. So that is the grading scale for that. I wouldn't recommend or, say one is better than the other exam. It's just really what your goals are as an interpreter, what you want to do. Like I said, if education is your goal and that's where you want to work, then you would only need to take the EIPA. However, there are other options. So good luck, you guys, and I hope to work with you in the future.